When international travel to the U.S. fell last year, many blamed the so-called Trump slump, arguing that the president's low approval ratings overseas are to blame for the drop in tourism. But as the country continues to face mass shooting after mass shooting, is gun violence playing a role as well? After the mass shooting left 58 concertgoers dead in Las Vegas in October, Germany warned its people to avoid the city. And Australia tells its citizens, quote, the United States has more violent crime than Australia. Mass shootings can occur in public places. Last year, American tourism fell by 4%, and the U.S. fell from the second most visited country to the third, behind France and Spain. So is a gun slump the cause? Boston Globe travel writer Christopher Muther joins me now. Chris, it's great to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Is there any, is it just these warnings that convince people like you and others that there actually is a gun slump, so to speak, a violence slump kind of thing?
I think part of it is the warnings. I think part of it is just unavoidable headlines that people read around the world. I mean, this is international news when these mass shootings happen because they're so unusual for other countries. You were mentioning countries that had issued travel advisories and warnings. Also, Canada has put one out.
About traveling to the U.S.? Yeah,
Germany.
Irish advisory said, again, that there are mass shootings. I read that today, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's not just countries warning people, but if you were to turn on the news and see anywhere that there's mass shootings happening, it would be like us watching the news for another country. And if we saw these things happening over and over, I think we'd be less inclined to go.
And is the Trump slump thing because of the S-hole countries and the travel ban? Is that's the...
Yeah, I think really the message that he's been sending out is you're not welcome. And whether or not that's targeted to people in Europe who aren't Muslim, it doesn't matter. I think the idea of having a bully, for instance, who wants a military parade? Would you be interested in visiting a country that's having a military parade?
Well, France is number one. They have military parades.
Well,
a different
they're
quality
French,
of military.
exactly.
They're French. Okay, well, that's fine. So do we have any, can we quantify what the impact has been? I mean, do we know that X $100 billion or something?
Yeah, it's 4.6 billion.
Billion.
Billion. The economy, tourism industry has lost 40,000 jobs since Trump took office a little more than a year ago. And that's only the first half of 2017. So the figures haven't been released. And this is U.S. Department of Commerce. This isn't, a political organization that's coming out and saying these things. Okay, so can we go from this part of the world a little further south to Puerto Rico? You go, I think I read every January you go? Every January,
What's that about?
For like the past decade.
Why?
Because I have friends who have a house there.
Okay, so so it's free. That's essentially what it is.
That's the bottom line.
You can charge it to the Globe, so it doesn't really matter, isn't that?
Don't tell
nervous
my boss.
laughter.
Don't
Thank
tell
you.
my boss.
So you went obviously after what happened late September of last year.
Yes.
About a week ago, Sam Kennedy, president of the Red Sox, and Marty Walsh, the mayor, were here. They had just come back from bringing things plus Red Sox players there. And they were talking about how electricity is still a problem in a huge swath of the country.
Yes.
But you had a much more positive take from your experience in January, right?
I did, and I can't say I went into areas that were hardest hit. I didn't go into the rural areas. I didn't go in the mountains, but I went to areas that I think people normally go to when they travel to Puerto Rico. So I was in San Juan, Old San Juan, Isla Verde, the Condado, those areas. And those areas you really wouldn't know immediately that there had been a hurricane.
Is that really true, or you're just trying to be encouraged?
No, trust me, I'm not a nice person. You know this. I tell like it is.
I do know that, actually, so it's fine.
I never sprinkle sugar on anything.
You can stop there. So. Thank you very much. Okay. But I mean, you really, if you didn't know, let's take it to an extreme.
Yeah.
Would you know? I mean, would you know that there had been disaster that struck those?
Definitely not disaster of that magnitude. The only thing that I could really see that was different were traffic lights weren't working. As you sort of got out of the city a little bit.
So the point of your piece, I think, was the thing that's particularly not working is in a place that is greatly dependent on tourism.
Yes.
Tourists who might otherwise go are not going because they think it's not ready for tourism.
Right.
Is it ready for tourism?
Well, the message they hear from someone like you is that it's not ready.
Yeah.
But I'm really just teasing you. But really, the issue is that in the areas that are dependent on tourism, it's ready for tourism. The hotels, for the most part, those that aren't occupied by FEMA workers, they're fine. The beaches are beautiful. There's a few attractions that aren't open yet. I mean, but if you're just going to relax, go to eat, go to have a good time, San Juan is still there and ready to go.
And are prices down, I would assume, because occupancy is down, or no?
No. There's a lot of, I would call it tourism vulturism going on.
What does that mean?
Like, over the Caribbean, because people are thinking these hard-hit countries, need money, so they're going to swoop in and try to take advantage of deals. In Puerto Rico, that's not the case because there isn't a high volume of hotel rooms, or there isn't as many as there normally is, and that's the same in other countries.
Yeah, I want to compliment you because you have dealt with some of the tough issues from the gun slump to Puerto Rico, and one of the toughest issues, you took on the whole issue of the grumpy traveler, which I think a lot of people have feared to deal with that. Now, we allegedly, according to some cockamamie survey that you cited, Massachusetts has the 7th grumpiest traveler. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
And what are the criteria for putting us in that low kind of position?
First, I would say I think we're higher than that, but
or lower, depending on your point of view.
Higher or lower.
So how do we get there, wherever we are?
So it was based on the number of 1- and 2-star reviews left by people on TripAdvisor. And people from Massachusetts left a disproportionately high number of negative reviews of hotels on TripAdvisor.
But aren't we negative about everything? I mean, you in your own piece, talking about not helping tourism, here's what you said about the Midtown Hotel Back Bay. Was that you?
Yes, it was
Why
me.
were you staying at the Midtown Hotel Back Bay?
I had done a story.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, why were you staying there? Why?
I did a story where I reviewed Boston hotels a couple of years ago, of all price ranges.
Well, here's what you said. I slept on a mattress that it felt like it was marinated in stale blue cheese and mothballs. That's not a very positive outlook for a travel writer.
No, but I'm honest.
You
so
are honest.
I want people to make sure that if they're going there, it's because they love stale blue cheese and mothballs. Yeah,
now, very quickly before we go, when you write something like that, you have a little bit of power in the community at large. When you write that, does the Midtown Hotel call you on the phone and say, come back and we'll give you a mattress that's clean, or give us another try, or what do they say?
They left a bag on my doorstep that they lit on fire, and I had to go out and sort of stomp it out, and that's what they. And it was not filled with mothballs.
Sorry, I asked. Thank you. Mothballs too. Chris Muther, it's great to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Travel writer extraordinaire.